It's 5 minutes past the top of the hour from our studios here in Dakar, Senegal. Good morning to you in Dakar, Abidjan, Ghana, across the world, and wherever you're tuning in. It's my pleasure to welcome you to the live coverage of the 2025 presidential election in Cote d'Ivoire. This is the English Service Edition, and welcome to you live on West Africa Democracy Radio, 94.9 FM in Dakar and online, WADR.org. We also have the live streamings on YouTube and Facebook. We are also on Utelsat 16A on the frequency of 12687 megahertz. I am Henriette, and in the coming hours, we'll be bringing you all the happenings, interviews, feature reports, profiling, a minute-by-minute update of the elections in Cote d'Ivoire. Much later in the election coverage, we'll be having guests and analysts joining us in the studio to look at the election issues in Cote d'Ivoire and the expectations from the outcome. We'll also be joined by correspondents on standby and other analysts in Abidjan and other regions of the country. And it's indeed a full package. Just also to inform you that this first part of the English broadcast will end at 10 a.m. To pave way for the French desk to take over at 11. Welcome once again. It's Cote d'Ivoire Decides 2025. WADR is covering. And just before we cross over to Abidjan, let's take you down memory lane and highlight a few political events leading to today's election in Cote d'Ivoire. Over 8.7 million Ivorians registered will be voting in this election, with 5 candidates competing for the presidency. Well, incumbent President Alassane Ouattara vies for 4th term after the 2026 constitutional reset of term limits. Well, main challengers include former First Lady Simone Gbagbo, former Commerce Minister Jean-Louis Billon. Well, since June, the protests have led to clashes and arrests, while a 2-month ban on gatherings by non-candidates has further intensified tensions. Well, President Alassane Ouattara, 83, is seeking a 4th term, promising continuity in economic growth, infrastructure, and security. A former IMF economist and Prime Minister under independence leader Felix Houphouët-Boigny, he has led the country since 2010 under the Rally of Universities for Democracy and Peace, known as RHDP. Now, Ouattara's supporters credit him with steering the country through recovery after years of instability. Between 2012 and 2019, the country recorded an average GDP growth rate of 8.2%. Now, this is according to the World Bank, one of the fastest in the continent. Growth has largely held since the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, his 4th term bid follows a 2016 constitutional reset of term limit, a move opponents argue undermines democracy. Well, we do have more explainers coming up as we will be crossing over now to Abidjan to join Francis Boniface to bring us update on the election. But just so you know, we do have other profilings that will be coming up and sectoral report which will be coming your way. As we wait to get Francis connected online, let's also tell you that there will be diaspora voting, which we'll talk about after the call with Francis. Francis, good morning to you, and how is Abidjan where you are?
Good morning to you. Abidjan is calm, everything is going smoothly at the moment.
Indeed. Well, what is the mood there? I know that leading to this particular day, I mean, the entire country has been tense, with the different issues that propped up opposition, protests, the ban, and all of that. What is the mood like? The people you have spoken to, what are they saying? How are they feeling? How looking forward or anxious are they to this day?
I don't think it's one of anxiety. Yes, there was the tensions before the vote, but fast forward to today, everything is going rather smoothly so far. I know it's still early days, one cannot say. It's not even yet midday, but for now everything is going smoothly. And yes, there were tensions before, and surprisingly, the tensions have been a little bit to the center of the country, the administrative capital, Yamoussoukro. Not really much in Abidjan, because yesterday there was a curfew declared in Yamoussoukro and all that. So Yamoussoukro has surprisingly been the flashpoint, not necessarily Abidjan so far.
You know, people were really worried that what happened in 2010 may re-happen, especially with the fact that opponents, oppositions have been calling for unending, in quote, down ending rallies or protests. How has that played out so far?
So far, yes, those sentiments are still there on the streets. Those sentiments are still in the hearts of people, because you see people exercise a lot of caution. For example, there are many people that say if you have no business going out to vote, for example, if you are not going to vote, there's no point going out. But you also have others that are, just exercising their liberty and going out, notwithstanding. So there is that air of cautiousness, but it's not like something is about to happen.
Well, tell us about the demographics. You know, they are, Cote d'Ivoire also makes up the large number of young people in the sub-region. Are we seeing young adults coming out to vote, or we're still seeing the regular, middle age and older people coming out?
Interestingly, where we are right now at the Cote area of Abidjan, we tend to see more of young people so far this morning. I don't know if that demographic would change heading into the afternoon or later in the evening. We've spoken to a couple of them who were really excited, elated to vote, and talked about their hopes for employment, especially. Yeah.
Well, what other things do you think people are expecting from this election? Yes, people may be worried that, there may be call for the election result to be cancelled eventually because of how things are. Do you see people discussing along that line?
In terms of what will happen after the vote, there is not much discussion about that at the moment. I think people are more concerned about how the vote itself is carried out and ends peacefully than what will necessarily happen after. I think to go back to your previous question, the preoccupation of people is more about the election day itself, not necessarily what happens after. Because there is this belief that if they can navigate through the election day, then what comes after probably will pale in comparison to the election day itself.
Well, how early that voting commenced? I know this is 1 hour and 12 minutes into the process. Was there a delay where you are in Cote? Did the electoral officials, prepare the materials early enough as they ought to?
Interestingly, where we are now in Cote, which is the Lycée Saint-Marie, the election officials arrived way earlier than we could even spot any voters, and they opened by 8 a.m. and there was no voter on ground until about some minutes past 8. So for here, I think they opened really early.
Is it that people are so confident that anytime they can actually go out? Because unlike some of the elections, you and I have covered, before 8 o'clock, I mean, the queues are already there waiting, especially what we saw here in Senegal. Can you compare at this early start?
I think it may also have to do with the district itself, and it may also have to do with the fact that President Alassane Ouattara is going to vote here also. So normally this is more like a bit more of an upper class area, so that may also contribute. I think the character and the nature of the district could also play a part in that, because I'm very sure that in other polling booths, people may have arrived early and, just like you say, formed queues, just as it normally happens in other countries.
Well, Francis, thank you so much, and I hope you've had one of Cote d'Ivoire's finest meal this morning as you set out to bring us more updates in the coming hours.
Sadly, no time to have a check yet. Maybe after the elections.
All right. Thank you very much, Francis. We'll be talking to you much later. All right. Now, let's bring an update on the representation of the diaspora in the total number of voters. Well, Cote d'Ivoire is one of the countries that do also have a diaspora vote. Now, during the October 2020 presidential election, the Independent Electoral Commission estimated the total number of registered voters at approximately 7,495,082. Now, the number of voters in the diaspora was estimated at 97,669 people. That is 1.3% of the total number of registered voters, including 56,940 men, that's 58.3%, and 40,729 women, making 41.7%. Now, this proportion of voters contrasts with the demographic weight of the diaspora, estimated at nearly 1.2 million people. That's according to the OECD, distributed mainly between France, the United States, Mali, Burkina Faso, Ghana, and Morocco. Well, in comparison, the national electorate concentrated almost all the votes, about 7.397 million participants. Well, talking about diaspora votes now, for the 2025 presidential election, these figures have increased slightly. According to the Independent Electoral Commission, there are 11,906 polling centers, 11,835 in Cote d'Ivoire, and 71 abroad. As of polling stations, the CEI was able to deploy 25,678, that is 25,370 in Cote d'Ivoire, and 308 abroad in 18 electoral commissions of the diplomatic representation, and the total number of voters amounting to 8.727 million, including 120,178 in the diaspora. Well, there's a whole lot coming away this month. Let's also look at the challenges in this 2025 election. Now, incumbent President Ouattara is facing 4 other challenges. The opposition figures say the race is far from level. Well, let's look at our first contestant now. In the race for the presidency, a former First Lady and early activist, Simone Gbagbo, is one of the 2 female candidates and one of the 5 candidates approved by the Constitutional Council. Some people say that this year's candidacy is almost 50-50. Say 60-40%, because we have 3 male and 2 female. Well, at 79, she is a candidate in this presidential election, and she says she wants to restore meaning to social justice and national sovereignty. Well, Christopher Tisho brings us the portrait of a Ivorian politician.
Born on June 20, 1949 in Musu, a small village located in Bonohua and the town of Grand Bassam, Simone Gbagbo comes from a large family and became a caretaker for her younger siblings at an early age. Trained in literature and linguistics, she worked as a teacher before turning to activism and unionism, advocating for multi-party democracy and the Ivorianization of school curricula. It was in this context that she met Laurent Gbagbo, the future president of Cote d'Ivoire, with whom she co-founded the Ivorian Popular Front, FPI. Elected as a member of parliament for Abobo in 1955, she became the vice president of the National Assembly and chaired the FPI parliamentary group, quickly establishing herself as a determined and influential politician. Laurent Gbagbo became president in 2000. Simone Gbagbo did not settle for the traditional role of First Lady. She actively participated in political decision-making, supported youth and women, and built a network that gave her real influence, something described as that of an iron lady. Her path has not been without hardship. After the post-electoral crisis in 2010, she was arrested alongside her husband, detained, tried and sentenced to 20 years in prison for undermining state authority before being released in 2018 under an amnesty law. Today, independent and estranged from Laurent Gbagbo, she leads the movement of Capable Generations, MGC, and has entered the 2025 presidential race, promising a platform rooted in social democracy and social justice. Throughout her career, she has passionately defended national sovereignty, social justice, and women's rights. Her commitment has often placed her at the heart of the country's political crisis, yet she has never ceased to stand by her convictions. For her supporters, she embodies perseverance, resistance, and determination. For her critics, she remained a controversial yet unignorable figure. Still active in public debate, Simone Gbagbo continues to exert influence on the political scene, reminding everyone that behind the image of the First Lady stands a grassroots politician capable of asserting herself in a world still largely dominated by men. Beyond politics, Simone Gbagbo is known for her dedication to youth empowerment and the promotion of women's rights. Her journey reflects both the complexities of Cote d'Ivoire's recent history and the strength of a woman determined to shape her country's destiny. Now 75 years old and serving as president of the MGC, Movement of Capable Generations, Simone Gbagbo presents herself as a symbol of struggle and political endurance, firmly committed to transforming Ivorian society. A candidate in the presidential election of October 25, 2025, she aims to champion a vision of social justice, economic independence, and the restoration of national values, drawing on her political experience, spiritual convictions, and resilience. So today is Cote d'Ivoire's presidential election. Join us for live coverage, debate, and reports minute by minute as election transpires. 5 candidates, 1 seat. The race to the Ivorian presidency is on. Incumbent Alassane Ouattara campaigns to retain her seat. Main rival and second female on the list, former First Lady Simone Gbagbo, and 3 other contenders vie for the presidency. Today, over 8 million registered voters will deliver their verdict on who becomes Cote d'Ivoire's next leader. Join West Africa Democracy Radio 94.9 FM, Dakar, and online WADR.org, YouTube and Facebook for a full day's coverage. Starting 6 a.m. Cote d'Ivoire decides. WADR covers.
All right, many thanks. That was Christopher Tisha profiling the portrait of former First Lady and early activist Simone Gbagbo there. Well, still talking about diaspora vote, we will cross over now to the Ghanaian capital of Accra, where Nadede Tete is on standby to bring us all the details and what is going on in that part of diaspora voting. Nadede, good morning to you.
Good morning, Imo.
Yes, what is happening where you are, and tell us where you are actually.
Okay, so I'm currently at the Ivorian Embassy in Accra, located in Osu, center of Accra. And at the moment, I can see that quite a number of Ivorians are here to cast their votes. At the embassy, what is here, there are 4 voting centers. So each voting center has a number of persons expected to vote. So I have the number for the number of people expected to vote at the voting center 4. That's 352. I'm still inquiring with regard to the other voting centers, how many people are expected to vote there. But the exercise generally here is smooth. Each of the voting centers is located in a room, and then you'd realize that people are coming in, they are trickling in, coming in their numbers to come and cast their ballots. You see the electoral officers also going about the activities smoothly, nothing confrontational. It's a very peaceful atmosphere here at the Ivorian Embassy. And you can see that people are very enthusiastic about participating in today's exercise. I'll be engaging some of the voters soon, but as of now, it's just been peaceful, and people come in, go to their various centers. What I've noticed is that for the centers, they are labeled, or people are categorized according to their names. So it goes between A to D. There's also D to K, and then there is K to N, then there's N to Z. So depending on your name, it will determine which center you would go and vote at. But it's just been peaceful here. I see some Ghanaian police officers as well as Ivorian police officers here too, as they go about the activities, as they go up. about today's exercise.
Well, just briefly on the average, how many minutes is one voter spending at the booth?
Okay, from what I've been told, it doesn't take more than 5 minutes as long as you're able to locate your name in time. It's generally smooth to go through the exercise. But I'm still picking information, which I will be sharing with the team in due course.
All right, very well. We will get back to you at Nadide. Hopefully, you would have been able to engage some of the voters so we can hear their expectations. Many thanks, Nadide. We'll be talking to you much later.
All right. Thank you very much.
Well, back here in Dakar, Sankule Janko is on the standby as we still talk about the matter of diaspora vote. Sankule, are you there? Good morning.
Yeah. Good morning, Imo Edit. I am here, yes.
Yes, please proceed. What are you seeing and what has happened so far in the last 1 hour, 30 minutes?
Right. Like you rightly said, I'm here at the Ivorian Embassy in Dakar. And first of all, once you approach this area, what you see is heavy security around the area. There's Senegalese law enforcement ensuring that security is provided. And of course, you can see a queue of Ivorians, queuing, going into the embassy building. Actually, here voting commenced here at exactly 8:45 this morning. That is when official voting began. I can see a handful of Ivorians around, sitting comfortably, calmly as well with their necessary documents that will warrant them to vote. And moments ago, just before you called in, Imo, the ambassador of the Ivorian ambassador to Senegal just cast his vote moments ago. That's what we witnessed. And here we have, Ivorians who are based in Mauritania. This is where they are officially allowed to come and vote, as well as Ivorians in Ziguinchor. This is the voting poll for all of these people. And together, we have about 5,000 Ivorians who are expected to cast their vote here at the Ivorian Embassy in Dakar.
That's quite a number compared to what we have in Ghana. Well, in your conversation with some of these voters, how have they, what is the mood like? Building up to this election, all the back and forth we've seen, we've heard the protest called for by opposition, the listing of some major opposition candidates. What have been their thoughts on this?
Well, I'll tell you honestly here, everything seems very calm so far. In fact, Mustafa and I were able to speak to about 1 or 2 voters here. And what they said is, for them, they are happy. Everything is going smoothly so far. They arrived here on time and voting materials also have been here on time. In fact, we witnessed when the fourth voter cast his ballot. That's what is the mood here. Generally, is calm. People are sitting. Some are on the queue waiting for their turn to go and cast their vote and leave. So far, so good. The mood has been very, very calm. Nothing to worry about. So far, so good. Everything is going smoothly.
Indeed, Sankule. When you look at the demographics, compared to the election we saw here in Senegal, there were a very good number of young adults coming out, to vote. Have you been able to make out how many they are in the numbers? Do we have older people more in the crowd? And of course, are they first-time voters where you are?
From the look of things, the demography, if I would say, it's similar to that of Dakar, like you mentioned, that of Senegal. When Senegalese were voting here, you could see young voters, but most of them are just young adults and middle-aged men and women, particularly women. I've seen quite a number of them here who are middle-aged and young adults. But so far, the demographic, that's the mood. Those are some of the people you see around. I've seen quite a handful of young people, perhaps first-time voters, but most of them are young adults as well as middle-aged people. Those are the people we've seen here so far. Perhaps later on in the day, when you have more people coming to cast their vote, perhaps we'll see more younger people coming. But so far, so good. It's young adults and middle-aged. Those are the people we've seen here so far.
Indeed, Sankule, many thanks. We'll be joining you much later in the program.
It's a pleasure.
Indeed. Well, it's about 1:30 here. That's 9:30 a.m. and you're still listening to the live coverage of the 2025 presidential election in Cote d'Ivoire. This is the English broadcast. Well, we're also streaming live on YouTube and on Facebook. Then you also listen to us on WADR.org. All right. Well, division, history, and demographic range. Let's bring you that now. Ethnic division data back to the 2002 to 2007 civil war and the 2010 post-election crisis, which left roughly 3,000 people dead, remain entrenched with North-South rivalries still shaping political loyalties and perception of power. These tensions remain closely linked to the long-standing rivalry between Ouattara and Gbagbo, whose supporters remain a potent political force in the South. Well, let's quickly sample the mode of voters at Yopougon and Andokai to hear what they are saying. Take a listen.
C'est un devoir citoyen de voter ce matin.
It's a citizen's duty to vote this morning. The population is waiting for this very important moment for Cote d'Ivoire. So this morning, very early, I got up. I'm in this polling station, and I also noticed that the organization is still perfect because so far the offices are open. I think that for now everything is going well. As an Ivorian, it is important to participate in this election that is important for Cote d'Ivoire. We wish that everything goes well calmly. As it happens this morning, at the moment, everything is going well. People are starting to come to the center, so we would like it to go well at the end. The expectations are many. One of the expectations is stability, and then to continue in this momentum, economic progress and political stability. Also, on the subject of the free trade and all that, I think that my expectations are focused on these aspects.
Focus sur ces aspects.
Well, I came to vote. I pray that everything goes well by the grace of God. Because at the moment we don't have work, we are unemployed. But despite all this, we love things. We pray that everything goes well in peace and in tranquility. I pray that everyone can vote like me, that we can vote in peace. The person you choose is the one. Only peace can reign in the court of truth. I am Ambassador Laetitia, an observer for the Human Rights Council. We are on the ground at the Yopo Grand Okwa in the middle of the high school. The population is already there, waiting for the vote and everything. We are here to just help. As we said, we are not here to give instructions. We are just here to observe the process. This is our role.
Well, there you have it, voters there from the Yopougon. Well, let's also remind you that the prefect of Yamoussoukro, where this region is, imposed a curfew on the city on Friday and Saturday. However, there's still voting ongoing. Now, this is a prefectural decision to deal with the violent demonstrations that are shaking the city on the eve of the election. Yamoussoukro is among the cities hardest hit by violent protests. Well, yesterday, one death was reported in the city. The victim was helping police remove barricades when he was hit in the head by a rock. Before this incident, the local headquarters of the Independent Electoral Commission was set on fire. Faced with the situation, the regional prefect and prefect of the Department of Yamoussoukro and the statement informed that a curfew had been imposed throughout the department. In place since Friday, the curfew in Yamoussoukro ends today, Saturday. Well, let's also take some thought from voters here in Dakar. Let's sample their thought and know what they think about this election going into, from the build-up and the expectations.
I am Madam Keita. I am satisfied. I am happy to have fulfilled my civic duty. I expect the future president to do what must be done.
All right, Madam Keita, there's a voter here in Dakar. Well, there's so much happening. For more than a decade, Cote d'Ivoire has demonstrated its commitment to placing women at the heart of development. Under President Alassane Ouattara, the issue of gender has become a central feature of public debate, institutions, and sometimes even symbols. Several programs and departments are working to reduce gender inequality, combat violence, and support women's economic empowerment. But behind the rhetoric, where are we really at? What conclusions can be drawn from the progress made in gender issues? Well, let's join Nadia Tete for this report.
As early as 2011, President Alassane Ouattara set the tone. The government created a directorate for the promotion of gender and equity, then adopted a more comprehensive framework, the National Policy for Equality, Equity and Gender 2024 to 2030. This strategic document sets specific objectives: more women in decision-making, greater economic autonomy, and zero tolerance for gender-based violence. Musa Diarasuba is Chief of Staff of the Ministry of Women. The country has adopted several measures to protect and promote women. There has been a significant improvement in access to education and the strengthening of economic empowerment through several funds. This progress was praised by the Minister of Women, Family and Children, Nasseneba Toure, who highlighted the country's international recognition. Here is the Ivorian Minister for Women's Affairs, Nasseneba Toure. These efforts have not gone unnoticed internationally. Cote d'Ivoire is ranked first in Africa in the fight against discrimination against women and girls, according to the OECD 2024 report. Hélène Ingarnim Ganga is a coordinator of the United Nations system in Cote d'Ivoire. For Prime Minister Robert Begré Mambe, these results reflect a significant evolution in the regulatory framework and institutional achievements, even if implementation remains a challenge.
All right, there you have it, the report on gender space. Well, let's also look at the next presidential candidate. This is Ahoua Don Mello. Now, the electoral campaign is in full swing. It was in full swing ahead of the presidential election for today. And the candidates in the running have less than a few weeks to convince voters. Among them is Ahoua Don Mello. The former close associate of Laurent Gbagbo has distanced himself from his mentor to enter the presidential race. An independent candidate, he is proposing to be the alternative for a more prosperous Cote d'Ivoire. Well, Usman Amara presents his profile.
He is one of the serious challengers to incumbent President Alassane Ouattara in this presidential election, Ahoua Don Mello, an Ivorian public figure who embodies the values of excellence, integrity and sovereignty. ADM, as he is known to those close to him, was born on June 23, 1958 in Bongouanou, a town in the Morono region of east-central Cote d'Ivoire. He earned his baccalaureate at the Lycée Classique de Boaké at a young age, before earning his engineering degree at the Félix Houphouët-Boigny National Polytechnic Institute in Yamoussoukro. ADM then flew to France to continue his studies at the prestigious École Nationale des Ponts Chaussées in Paris, where he graduated with a Doctor of Engineering degree in bridges and roads at the age of 27. In 1983, he met Laurent Gbagbo in France, the former Ivorian president who was in exile at the time. After discussions with him, Ahoua Don Mello joins the Ivorian Popular Front, FPI. With Laurent Gbagbo, Ahoua Don Mello's ideals were, first and foremost, a left-wing sovereigntist Ivorian society focused on innovation. It was then that he became Director General of the National Bureau of Technical Studies and Development under the former Ivorian president in 2000. Ahoua Don Mello also served as Minister of Equipment and Sanitation from 2010 to 2011, government spokesperson and special advisor to the president. Exiled on April 11, 2011, the date of Laurent Gbagbo's arrest, Ahoua Don Mello forged an international career, notably in development matters in several African countries. From 2017 to 2021, he served as special advisor to President Alpha Condé of the Republic of Guinea. In September 2021, Russian employers appointed him special advisor for investments in Africa. A long-time activist in the PPACI founded by Laurent Gbagbo in 2021, Ahoua Mello eventually distanced himself from the opposition party after its leader's candidacy for the 2025 presidential election was rejected. He then declared himself an independent candidate for the election scheduled for Saturday, October 2025. Ahoua Mello positions himself as an alternative to both the ruling power and the historical figures of the opposition. ADM is also a writer with 2 published works, Le Ivoirien Nouveau, which translates to The New Ivorian in April 2010, Cote d'Ivoire on the Road to Sovereignty in September 2015.
Many thanks, Usman Omar, there profiling the candidacy of Ahoua Mello. Well, we do have a guest online, and joining us is Mr. Morgan Ashogba in Benin. Mr. Morgan, thank you so much for finding time to talk to us this Saturday morning. Welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
Indeed. Well, what has been your thoughts and your concern in the build-up to this election, just as many experts and observers, have expressed fear that this voting today may not actually hold. Did you think that way?
Well, when you look at the attitude of each key actors, especially in the last minute, you could understand that even though there are some grievances and some let's say contestation of the way things are being going on, there is a sense of democracy that remains with the actors. None of them is highly interested in disrupting the process of the election, using ways that are not allowed by the various law in town. So I do believe that the fear is very normal because of the lack of deep inclusivity when it comes to the key actors that are competing. But when it comes to the legal parameters and the consciousness of the key actors in terms of what is the way to go and what is the behavior to adopt, so far, one could say that there is more fear than it should be in terms of reality. But the concerns are real. And so ever, one could see that there are no clear competitors that could match in terms of political influence to the President Ouattara, who is as well competing for this presidential election.
Well, the former First Lady, Simone Gbagbo, is in contention also, and a lot of people are saying that among the other 4, that she may be the one that perhaps may give Ouattara a run for his money. Do you think that may actually play out? And also looking at the fact that she is a woman and one of the first among the 2 in this race.
It is clear that when it comes to comparing all the key actors that are competing or that are being accepted to compete with President Ouattara, she stands out. It is clear. But when it comes to the political environment and the capability on the ground in terms of objective analysis, it is clear that President Ouattara is far more involved and far more has far more influence when it comes to political capital compared to the former First Lady Simone Gbagbo. However, it is a competition, and nobody knows how the way will turn on at the end of the day. But to be pragmatic, it is clear that there is no huge political competitor looking at the political history of Cote d'Ivoire. Maybe we are about to see a change in history, but if the history facts are real and trustworthy, it is obvious that President Ouattara keeps on leading the political dynamic ahead of all the other competitors.
Well, how do you think the incumbent has been able to manage this entire crisis? I mean, from June, the tension has been building up till about even last week when the oppositions were calling for an unending rallies and protests. Even till about yesterday, there were still some, one or two pockets of protests here and there. How do you think the president has been able to manage this situation and also being able to make sure that the election holds today?
The great things about all that happened is that it is obvious that the president is not alone in this. He has some key supporters, and most of the supporters are equally young. And the other aspect is the maturity of the political landscape. Today, Cote d'Ivoire has an history when it comes to elections and when it comes to history of competition when it has to do with presidential election. I believe the political actors and the citizen of Cote d'Ivoire have gained some level of maturity so that they do not want to fall within the realm of violence as far as it is not constructive for the development of their country. So all these key factors have played a huge role in allowing us to be witnessing so far a peaceful process in terms of election. So the president has several factors that are playing in his favor. However, this does not take away the social frustration, but what is being displayed here is the level of maturity that key actors seem so far to have reached in terms of behavior, even within a great atmosphere of frustration.
Mr. Morgan, thank you so much for your time and for talking to us. We'll be conversing much later in the program. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Well, that was Mr. Morgan Ashogba, international political expert, giving his thoughts on the entire voting process. Well, Henriette Lagou, a former minister under former President Laurent Gbagbo, is one of the 5 presidential candidates. Along with Simone Gbagbo, they are the 2 women running for the highest office this year. She advocates for a political changeover with women at the forefront of the political scene. One of her slogans is "Women's time has come." Well, Sankli Danko presents her portrait.
Henriette Lagou Adjo, 66, is a well-known figure in Ivorian politics. She began her political career alongside former Ivorian President Henry Konan Bedie before becoming close to another former president, Laurent Gbagbo. She worked closely with the highest levels of the Ivorian government, having served as Minister of Family, Women and Children on Laurent Gbagbo in 2000. Henriette Lagou was also chairwoman of the board of directors of the former national airline Air Ivoire between 2006 and 2011. This presidential election is the second for Henriette Lagou, who had already run in the 2015 election. At the time, she became the second woman to seek the highest office in Cote d'Ivoire. She received less than 1% of the vote. For this presidential election, she says she has grown, learned, and hopes to do better than her previous result. She spoke to our colleagues at France 24. Henriette Lagou is running under the banner of the RPC PAIX Group of Partners for Peace. The platform brings together centrist parties. Henriette Lagou advocates a political change in which women will this time be at the forefront of the political scene. In her social project, she places rural women at the heart of her political and socio-economic governance. A program focused on the empowerment, training, and financing of women agricultural producers. Henriette Lagou says she wants to embody a change in women's power based on peace and social justice. Her ambition to transform the voice of rural women into a true driving force for national development. Since her early days in politics, she has always advocated for better representation of women in decision-making spheres.
Many thanks, Uncle Janko, there with the portrait of one of the presidential candidates, Henriette Lagou. Well, let's cross over to the Ivorian Embassy in Accra, Ghana, where we spoke with Eddie Serge, president of the voting center in Accra.
We are the Ivorian Embassy where diaspora voting is taking place here in Accra. I have an official here. I would like to know, first of all, what time voting started here in Accra.
Okay, thank you. So voting started here at the embassy at 8:30 precisely. So we normally have to close the voting bureau at 6:30 according to the time.
6:30 p.m.?
6:30 p.m., yes.
Okay, so voting started at 8:30 and is expected to end at 6:30.
Exactly.
So at the embassy, how many people are expected to vote in total?
In total, we are expecting about 1,432 voters.
Okay.
Yes, here in the diaspora. Yeah.
And you have 4 voting centers as well?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, and do we know the figures for each center?
So it's a simple calculation because you have to divide 1,400 by 4.
By 4.
So it will give you roughly about 360 something per
center.
Per center, yes.
Okay. And so far, how has the exercise been?
Oh, everything is going well, successful. Everything is peaceful, very calm. Everything is, so far, so good.
And how many minutes does it usually take for one person to go through the voting process?
Depending on if the person is having his voting card. So if that's the case, it takes less than 5 minutes.
Okay.
But if we have to go through the search of the voting card for the elector, to take about, let's say, 7 minutes.
Okay. And what is the process usually like?
The process is like the voter comes with his voter ID. We identify him, then we give him access to the voting center where we just cross-check according to the voter ID, cross-check and make sure he's the one coming to cast the vote. Then we just give him the voting, what do you call this? Yes, the voting, that he has the vote.
The ballot paper?
The ballot paper, sorry, yeah. Then he goes ahead with the casting inside the ballot.
Okay. And is there biometric verification as well?
Sure, yes. That's where we cross-check if the voter is the one presenting himself to do the voting.
Eddie Serge, president of the voting center in Accra, Ghana, at the Ivorian Embassy. And he was speaking there with my colleague Nadi Detete. Now, Jean-Louis Billon, a dissident from the PDCI, that's the Democratic Party of Cote d'Ivoire, is one of the 5 candidates in the presidential election this Saturday. He embodies renewal and says he wants to reconcile Cote d'Ivoire with itself. Billon, or the hope for renewal, a portrait by Francis Boniface.
Jean-Louis Billon, 60 years old, advocates for a generational change. He embodies the vision of Cote d'Ivoire, where virtuous governance and economic efficiency prevail. The businessman focuses on private sector investment, which he believes will reduce unemployment and increase the purchasing power of Ivorians. His program is based on key priorities, such as combating the high cost of living and ensuring sound democratic and economic governance.
I
was in front of the Ivorian business community, and they know very well that together we are going to have a much closer partnership. Next, I give priority to the private sector. I want growth to be driven by the private sector, not by public investment. And for that, I will need more SMEs, more investment, and of course, to create more jobs for young people. I want to create a sovereign fund like in many other countries, which will support young people, assist them, and even rescue businesses that are in difficulty. I could help companies during their first 3 years, the most challenging years for a new business, by supporting their startup funds and enabling them to have employees during those first 3 years.
Jean-Louis Billon, current CEO of Sifka Group, an Ivorian agro-industrial giant and the country's largest private employer after the state, with 33,000 direct jobs, has never hidden his presidential ambitions. After the death of his mentor, Henri Konan Bédié, in 2023, Jean-Louis Billon expressed his determination to take the reins of the oldest political party in Côte d'Ivoire. Despite the election of Tidjane Thiam as the head of the political party, the youngest candidate in the upcoming October presidential election hasn't abandoned his ambitions. He is calling on the leader of the oldest Ivorian party to join his cause.
I called on Tidjane Thiam, saying, let's set our differences aside. It's time now to put the nation first. I'm asking him to join me and for the PDCI to support me so that we can achieve a true victory.
This persistence has earned him several summonses before the PDCI Disciplinary Council, since his candidacy is not supported by the party's executives. Jean-Louis Billon decided to launch the Democratic Congress, Cote, a political movement aimed at winning the presidency. Far from being a temporary alliance, it is an initiative to put power back at the service of the people, explains Landry Seri, Billon's national campaign director.
Brave people of Côte d'Ivoire, you are right not to lose hope, for a light has risen. That light is Jean-Louis Billon, former Minister of Trade. He dared to denounce the monopolies that drive up the cost of living and strangle consumers. In the National Assembly, Jean-Louis Billon sometimes stood alone to defend the interests of the Ivorian people.
Jean-Louis Billon promises that once elected, he will place women and youth at the heart of his governance. He also plans to reform housing, improve the status of civil servants, and reconcile Côte d'Ivoire with itself.
Right, Francis Boniface there profiling Jean-Louis Billon, one of the 5 presidential candidates. Well, this is the much we can take at this hour of broadcast to give way for our French colleague to come on board in the next 4 minutes for the French version. Many thanks for joining us across the sub-region via satellite, Facebook streamings on YouTube, Instagram. We appreciate your time, and even on radio here on 94.9 FM in Dakar. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll be back at midday or 1 o'clock thereabout for our second edition. Big thanks to all of our production team led by Abdullah Hassan, Francis Boniface in Abidjan there, Christopher Ticho, Augustine Kohli behind the scene, Mustafa Sek, Mauro Juve. Many thanks to all of you guys. We'll be back. I am Imo Edet. Good morning.
So today is Côte d'Ivoire's presidential election. Join us for live coverage, debates, and reports, minute by minute as election transpires. 5 candidates, 1 seat. The race to the Ivorian presidency is on. Incumbent Alassane Ouattara campaigns to retain her seat. Main rival and second female on the list, former First Lady Simone Gbagbo, and 3 other contenders vie for the presidency. Today, over 8 million registered voters will deliver their verdict on who becomes Côte d'Ivoire's next leader. Join West Africa Democracy Radio 94.9 FM, Dakar, and online, WADR.org, YouTube and Facebook for a full day's coverage. Starting 6 a.m., Côte d'Ivoire decides. WADR covers.